Ontario Premier Doug Ford's ban on speed cameras is now in effect. He calls them a cash grab, claiming they don't slow down speeding drivers. But dozens of mayors are saying otherwise. The CBC's Angie Seth is on this story for us. She joins us now live from Toronto, from near one of those speed cameras. So Angie, thank you for joining us here. You are on a street right now that has been the source of much of the controversy surrounding this issue. So what is happening there today? What have you been seeing? And why are speed cameras there just so controversial?
So Parkside Drive is where we are right now, Hillary. Good to see you as well. Well, there you go. A little bit of honking as we've sort of been hearing over the course of the morning, really, every time we sort of get in front of the camera. And not sure is that honk in favor of what's going on here or not in favor. There's been a lot of that back and forth. But I want to show you, just step out of the way and show you the speed camera that we're talking about here. This speed camera here, and of course you can see the tower as well. This speed camera alone, it is one of the city's busiest cameras. It has been removed 7 times now. The difference now is this legislation that's come in by the Ford government. These cameras will now no longer be active as of today. That ban that was put, that legislation that was put in place, banning speed cameras, is the Ford government and Premier Ford saying that this is just basically a cash grab by the municipalities to bring revenues in. But this area here, very controversial, is back in 2021. There was a fatal accident involving 2 pedestrians and a speeding car, obviously going over the speed limit. 2 individuals died. The city then decided to, as part of their traffic measures, to enforce speed cameras, and municipalities came on board right across the province, 37 municipalities, if you will, having speed cameras within their regions, within their areas there. So this being a very busy road, as you can see, it is a major artery. It is a thoroughway towards Lakeshore, which is a busy area as well, that leads in and out of the city, as well as access to the highway, as well as access to the hospital that is in this area as well. So residents here have been saying, we need to keep the speed cameras. But going back to sort of what the cost has been, Parkside Drive speed camera here alone issued 70,000 tickets this year. That's around $80 million in revenue. And the Premier is saying there's got to be other alternatives. When we look at the overall amount of money that's been coming in from speed cameras, $40 million in fines in 2024, over $45 million so far this year. That, of course, those fines, of course, won't be paid as of today with that ban being put into effect. But the government's saying there's other measures we can do. $210 million, the finance minister announced, will go towards municipalities to implement traffic calming measures. In addition, Transportation Minister Prabmeet Sakata put forward a statement saying that new road safety initiatives, this is a fund now, to the amount of $42 million will be provided for cities to put measures in like speed bumps, raised crosswalks, roundabouts, for example, new signage, as well as increased police enforcement. Spencer's showing you this area here. Okay, this is really important and very, very significant as to whether or not something like this, Hillary, can be enforced in a very, very busy major artery, I guess you could say, or connecting artery into the city roadway.
Well, and Andrew, some of those numbers you just took us through are pretty staggering, just in terms of the number of tickets that one camera has generated in a short amount of time. You did mention, though, that not everyone is in favor of the ban. So what are some of the municipalities and safety groups? What are they saying?
Well, first of all, we did speak to residents here, many of which have described hearing cars speeding down the road in the middle of the night. A lot of them saying, it is not safe. It is a major area. Some of those measures that the province has been suggesting, those won't necessarily be able to be implemented because it just won't work. You can't put a crosswalk or speed bumps in this area, especially with ambulances coming through the area as well. We also spoke with Farzad Ghalizadeh. He's the co-chair of Safe Parks, saying they want the ban to be reversed and for the province and the municipalities to work together on better solutions. But speaking of mayors, over 20 mayors pushing back on this. We just heard from Toronto Mayor Olivia Chow. Here's more on that.
We know that speed cameras works. It protects our children in school zones. We also know crossing guards and traffic cops work to protect and make sure everyone is safe. The funding for both the traffic cops and the crossing guards. You're talking about 911 crossing guards and 18 police officers. That funding is now gone as of today. Yeah, $43 million across Ontario. How much will we get for that? Who knows?
So you're hearing there from the mayor, we need to get some of that money back. It's used to pay for things like crossing guards. To give you a sense here, each of these cameras, $50,000. That doesn't include the maintenance. If you add up between 37 municipalities, Brampton alone has 185 of these cameras. That amounts to about over $9 million just to purchase the cameras. So the big question, Hillary, before I go here, what happens to all these cameras? What will they be used for? Will they be scrapped? Some municipalities are toying with the idea maybe we use them at traffic lights, maybe we use them to track crime. But at this stage, they will no longer be in use. And, well, there's a lot of money, circulating around all over the place in terms of what's going to happen, and residents wanting to know some of those answers as well.
So many questions that are currently unanswered, like you were just taking us through there. Angie, really appreciate this. Thank you so much. The CBC's Angie, Seth there in Toronto near one of those speed cameras. We do want to stay on this story, though, so let's bring in Matti Siemiatycki. He is the director of the Infrastructure Institute at the University of Toronto. So, Matti, thank you for joining us today. We do appreciate this.
Yeah, hi there. Thanks for having me.
I think a lot of people have different perspectives on this, have a lot of different thoughts on this as well. So let's go through some of it. From your perspective, do you think that removing speed cameras was the right move?
I think this is the wrong direction. We are now running a major experiment with people's lives. Road safety is a huge issue in Ontario. People die daily on our roads. They have their lives changed through crashes. There was just a horrific crash in Oakville. Melody Zhu, a young kid, was killed when a car jumped up onto the curb and killed her. This is horrific. I defy anyone to look at those incidents and say we shouldn't be doing everything we can to make our roads as safe as possible. We know that the cameras slow people down, and that speed is a significant cause of injury and death. 25% of deaths in Canada on the roads are from speeding. And so this is just taking us in the wrong direction.
What direction, then, do you think we should now go in? So if these cameras are going to be removed as of today, like they are, what do you think can be done then to try to slow drivers down?
So to be fair, the cameras are only part of the solution. They slow people down, but they don't necessarily make the roads themselves safer. We have issues with the way our roads are designed because they encourage people to travel at high speeds. They give you all the signals, all the visual cues that you can go quickly on those roads. And in some instances, and your viewers will experience this, when you drive on some of the roads where the speed limit is 40, it sometimes feels like you're crawling along, that you're going too slow. So the real solutions are, in some cases, to narrow the lanes, to put in traffic bumps, to widen the sidewalks, and even in some cases to put in bicycle lanes, something that the Premier is highly opposed to. So the solutions here are not easy. I mean, Parkside Drive, there's been talk for years about trying to make that a safer street through redesigns, and there's been also pushback from motorists there too. So all the solutions now that are being proposed, they're not going to be easy either, but we know what we have to do, and now we're going to have to get on with it.
Not going to be easy, and I imagine also not cheap. Can you talk to us just about the cost of some of those measures that we've heard, for example, from the Premier, things like more speed bumps, for example, versus the cost of speed cameras? What is the more sort of cost-efficient way of trying to slow drivers down?
I think we need to be doing all of these approaches, and the Premier is right. We do need things like speed bumps and wider sidewalks and crosswalks to make the road safer. That costs money, but the cost of all these injuries and deaths are catastrophic to communities and to families. So that's important there. And the speed cameras are part of the solution. The revenue they generate, they should be revenue neutral because no one is speeding. The best case scenario is they generate $0 because everyone is driving safely and the roads are safely designed. But that's not the world we're living in right now. So if the speed cameras are coming out and with that, the revenue, then it's going to fall on taxpayers now to pay for all of these solutions. And the amount of money the Premier is putting in is a good start. But this is a huge province and we have big needs. And it's going to have to be a lot more money that all of us through our taxes are now going to pay for.
Are there any examples of municipalities, provinces, states, other countries even, that in your view have figured out how to do this? Is there a model that we could maybe look to?
Well, certainly in the Netherlands, they've come up with these approaches to narrow their streets, to make them safer, to put in bike lanes. And so you see a lot more people walking and a lot more people cycling. And when you're in a city like Amsterdam, in many parts of that city, you just feel that it's the traffic, that moving around by a motor vehicle is one approach, but it's not the primary way. And transit and people walking and cycling have a lot more options. We need to understand that building safe roads is critical to our cities. Cities having people being able to walk and get around. It's also not just pedestrians. People are dying in motor vehicles, in some cases even just from single car crashes where they're speeding and they drive off the road and drive into a tree or an energy pole, an electricity pole. So really, this is critical that we get a handle on it.
Matti, I think sometimes people hear that argument. Maybe they've even been to the Netherlands, for example, and have seen that, experienced that firsthand. And they say, in a country like Canada, where it is winter, a vast majority of the time, where we maybe don't always have great public transit alternatives, where it's maybe too cold to ride your bike so many months of the year, that these options are more difficult in a country like Canada. What is your response to that?
I would push what you've said even further and say it's not just in the winter, it's also in our more suburban areas that have been designed around the car, where the distances are further and where for people who have options, they are using the car for almost all of their trips. I grew up in the inner suburbs here in Toronto in North York, so I know that environment very well, where the car is the way you get around. I think when we're talking about safety, we're talking about making it safer for drivers, for cyclists, for pedestrians, for kids, for everyone, because people in cars are dying too. When you look at the statistics for the city of Toronto alone, it turns out it's about half of the deaths. There's about 45 to 50 every year now. They've come down because of some of the measures that have been put in place. The high watermark was actually 70 or 80 deaths per year. It was horrific in the mid 2010s. They've come down. And if we really want to get to zero, we have a Vision Zero program. We have to be looking in the inner suburbs and in the suburban areas where people are driving, and often driving very quickly, because the connecting roads, the arterial roads, those are built like mini freeways, and people are driving very fast. It's not just pedestrians, it's people in cars are dying too. They make up about half of the fatalities. So we really need to get a handle on this for everyone. We shouldn't think of it as one mode of transportation versus another. We should think about it as making the road safe for all.
Well, it certainly sounds like we all have a lot of work to do then on all of these different fronts. Matti, so great to have you here. We really do appreciate this today. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Matti Siemiatycki is the director of the Infrastructure Institute at the University of Toronto.